This coming Monday, May the 20th, ATF's latest infringement on the Second Amendment goes into effect. So, if you want to sell a gun or two without first having to become an FFL, this is going to be the last weekend you can do so. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Firearm Firm channel. I'm attorney James Phillips, and today we are going to be discussing yet another infringement on your right to bear arms, all thanks to our current administration and, of course, the ATF. But before we jump into our discussion, be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to the Firearm Firm channel if you haven't already done so by clicking on that subscribe icon located down in the bottom right hand corner of this video. Since publishing the final rule 2022 R-17F titled The Definition of Engaged in the Business as a Dealer in Firearms in the Federal Register on April the 19th of 2024, a total of 26 states along with various Second Amendment organizations have filed 3 separate lawsuits, all on the same day, May the 1st of 2024, and they are suing the Attorney General Merrick Garland and the ATF. Now, the ATF asserts that this new rule was warranted to clarify the statutory changes made by the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which was signed into law back in June of 2023. Of course, the ATF decided to add more to the definitions than the congressional changes made to the Gun Control Act by the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. And according to the ATF, this rule helps clarify the definition of engaged in the business as a dealer in firearms. The first lawsuit that was filed was Kansas et al. Versus Garland et al., which was filed in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Arkansas by 21 states. The plaintiff states are Kansas, Arkansas, Iowa, Montana, Alabama, Alaska, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. In this lawsuit, the plaintiffs allege ATF violated the Administrative Procedure Act, the APA, by exceeding their authority by redefining federal definitions. The final rule also violates the Second Amendment because it infringes on the right to sell arms. They also allege that the final rule violates the separation of powers because the executive branch is both construing and rewriting a federal statute. And finally, they allege that the rule is vague. The second lawsuit is Texas et al. Versus ATF et al., which was filed in the United States District Court for the Northern District of Texas. As many of you know, the Northern District of Texas is very pro-2A. The state plaintiffs in this case are made up of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Utah. Also joining in as a plaintiff is Gun Owners of America. This lawsuit alleges the final rule violates the Administrative Procedure Act, the APA, because it is contrary to statutory and exceeds the authority granted by Congress. Number 2, it alleges that the final rule violates the APA because it is arbitrary, capricious, and an abuse of discretion and not in accordance with the law. Number 3, it violates the APA because it is contrary to constitutional rights, power, privilege, or immunity. Number 4, final rule violates the Fifth Amendment due process protection and is void for vagueness. Number 5, it violates the Second Amendment. Number 6, it violates the Fourth Amendment right against unreasonable searches and seizures because it gives ATF the authority to enter the premises of a licensee to conduct an inventory of firearms and records without a warrant. And finally, number 7, it alleges that the new rule violates the constitutional separation of power doctrine in Article 1, Section 1 and 7. The state of Florida was the last state to file a lawsuit challenging ATF's final rule. The case is Florida versus ATF et al., and it was filed in the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida, and it alleges pretty much the same thing, various violations of the APA by, of course, the ATF. Currently, the United States Supreme Court has 2 cases, Garland versus Cargill and Garland versus Vanderstock, before them, in which ATF's rulemaking decisions and authority are at issues. The results of those 2 cases will obviously impact the 3 lawsuits we just went over. Now, hopefully with over half of the states in our great country fighting for the Second Amendment, we will soon see an end to ATF's infringement on our right to bear arms. Be sure to let us know what you think about ATF's action and these lawsuits, along with any questions you may have about this video or any other Second Amendment related question down in the comments section, or you can email your questions directly to us at questions@thefirearmfirm.com. Finally, if your state was not listed in one of those 26 states I went over, contact your Attorney General. Tell them to fight for your right to bear arms. Until next time, stay armed and educated.